Good evening and welcome to Budget and You. Now, I'd like to remind you that this space at 7 p.m. every day is dedicated to the retail investor. If you have any question at all about your money, all you have to do is pick up the phone and call us. Remember, we talked about mutual funds, we talked about real estate, and today we're going to talk about stocks. The market is trading tomorrow, even though it's a Saturday, during that budget speak. So it's a very crucial, of course, trading session. And we're right here to take your questions. There's an email ID at the bottom of your screen. And to answer the questions that you send in, we have with us Gaurang Shah. Gaurang, thank you so much for coming in. Crucial, of course, trading session. Yeah. Now, before we begin answering questions, I want to very quickly ask you this. For anybody who's watching at home, if I have a portfolio that I'm looking at, I should be very happy at the end of today.
Yeah.
But tomorrow, would you recommend we do some trading or we pick some stocks? Or do you think it's the kind of trading session that the retail investor should sort of stay out of?
Well, if you are retail and if you don't have the risk appetite, don't trade. But if you get an opportunity, in case if there is some disappointments and the market's correct on the lower side, my belief is that the market is not going to have a huge correction on the outside. It's going to be a budget which is going to please everybody, though it might not come out with fireworks, but at least it will give a roadmap going forward from here on as to what the thought process is in the Prime Minister as well as the Finance Minister's mind. So, if I would never advise for trading, fair. I always advise for investing.
Right.
And I think you should always take opportunities on lower levels in the market to identify stock and ideas that you have in your mind or your shopping list to venture out and buy in case of the market's correct.
Now, in case we have some disappointment tomorrow, just in case, I know a lot of the market doesn't believe they might be. Is there something that you'd personally advise your clients to buy if there is a cut in the market?
Something, I think I have a whole lot of list that you need to go and
Give
buy.
us a couple of names.
Okay, so starting with IT, private sector banks. So IT, I think stocks like Tech, Mahindra, HCL Tech, in private sector banks, which have been extremely positive for a very, very long time. I continue to believe that story. So your Axis Bank, ICICI Bank came out with disappointing set of numbers. So stock is consolidating. We believe it's a fantastic opportunity to get into ICICI Bank. Kotak Mahindra Bank merger with ING Vysya should augur well. In principle, approval now in place. Autos is something that we like on fallback of interest rate cut and of course the recovery at ground shoot levels. I think it's a fantastic opportunity to get into something like a Tata Motors or a Maruti. Cap goods engineering space and something related to defense now that we've heard so much about defense. I think names like BEL, BEML, L&T, and this morning we had some news flow on that. I guess these are some of the stock ideas that you should definitely look at. And pharma, I think manufacturing side, there should be something pleasant that the finance minister will have to deliver tomorrow. So one will have to just wait and watch. But in case, like you said, you play the devil's advocate. In case if there is some downside, then I think these are the names that you could possibly look at. And in pharma, of course, I didn't mention the names, but something like a Lupin or a Dr. Reddy's or Sun Pharma.
Okay. A quick recap. We talked about Tech Mahindra, ICICI Bank, Kotak Bank, Tata Motors, Maruti, BEL, BML, L&T and pharma stocks. And speaking of pharma stocks, I have a question for you. Ramchandra Rao wrote into us. He has 100 shares of Ipca Labs, which he bought at 725 rupees. He's wondering if he should hold on to that stock. Now, he's lost a little bit of money on that stock. Would you recommend he holds on?
I would say that downside was because of some negative news flow on Ipca, and I believe that one-off negative news should not deter if you are a long-term investor. Your confidence should only multiply, and our belief is that going forward with the kind of product launches that they have, this negative news that we saw, short-term reaction should definitely be overcome with. I would advise definitely hold on, and in case if the stock slips below your initial price, say 4 or 5% down, then if you have investable capital, I think you should definitely add on to it.
All right, you can add on to it. And remember, if you have a question right now, you can reach me on Twitter or you can tweet out your question to @ETNowLive. And there is a phone number at the bottom of your screen as well. That's 022-249-25089. Pick up the phone and call us, and we're right here to answer your questions. I'm going to take another email question in the meantime. Harvinder has written in, he has 60 shares of Axis Bank, which he bought at 366 rupees. Lucky Harvinder, he wants to know if he should hold on to that stock. We just talked about private banking. Sure. So obviously a stock like Axis Bank, hold on, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it has performed very well when you compare the quarterly numbers that we recently saw with ICICI Bank. I think this bank has delivered fantastic set of numbers, and as a disclosure, we have recently upgraded our target on Axis Bank to about 630 if I'm not mistaken. And I think what we spoke about, interest rate cuts, if not now, then at least by maybe fag end of March or maybe early part of April, we will definitely see another rate cut coming through, which augurs extremely well for the entire banking pack, and especially for private sector bank, a bank like Axis Bank, which has been a consistent performer both on the corporate side, retail side, commercial vehicle loan book, expansion of branch network to regain market share. And of course, interest rates coming down, asset quality improvement. I think these extremely augur well for Axis Bank. So I would say hold on to it. Initially look out for somewhere around about 630 and review your investment at that point.
So tell me this, there might be a lot of investors who are looking at their stocks. So if I bought Axis Bank at the 366 level, I'm looking at it now and saying, well, I made a fair bit of money. Yes. Before the budget, this makes sense to take some money out, or before we see any sort of volatility. Ideally, what sort of a time horizon should I have on a stock like this?
There is life beyond tomorrow. And the market is going
to
exist.
Tell the market then.
And the market is going to exist after tomorrow. And I believe that there's going to be a great time ahead. And this is not the last budget that we are facing. This is the first budget. And I believe there is a lot of opportunity which will lie ahead for this finance minister and the prime minister to take steps to rectify the decade-old problems that the earlier government has given them, a legacy as you call it. So don't think about tomorrow. Tomorrow will come and go like every time, every year. And we will see better times ahead. So hold on to it. Don't be in a hurry just because of tomorrow.
All right, hold on to Axis Bank there for the long term if you can. Hussain has also written in 20 shares of Nestle India, bought at 5,000 rupees. He's made a fair bit of money as well. If only he had more than 20 shares. Should he hold on to Nestle India?
If you feel that you should have more, you will never be happy making money in the stock market.
Isn't that a fundamental point of the stock market is to always want more?
So I believe that you should hold on to it. Yes, you are making decent money, but there's still a growth potential. And what we've heard recently is that they are planning to expand their dairy product business. They did come out with some products, but did not really work out. A relaunch of that to regain the market share. And of course, parent is extremely cash-rich company, both domestic Indian operations as well. And something from the FMCG pack and a niche market and a niche name. So I would say hold on to it. Maybe you can book out 10 shares and initially bring down your cost of investment. I think that would be a safer bet to play.
All right, so hold on to that stock as well. I believe we have a viewer on the phone line right now. Shankar has called in from Bangalore. Shankar, good evening. Tell us your question.
Actually, I have taken CESC at the price of 700.
Okay.
Hello? And what will be the future of that share?
All right, CSC is the price of 700, you said, Shankar?
Yeah, 700 rupees.
All right, 700 in CSC. What would you recommend he does?
Well, hold on to it. Don't be in a rush. You are taking offer 100 rupees. If you have investable, you can add maybe about 25, 30 or 40% of your initial investment that you purchased. That many shares you can average. My belief is that for power generation, I think the government is definitely going to take steps in the right direction, the kind of power deficit they have. The stock corrected fair because there was some negative news flow on the Colgate issue, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong over there. But I think inherently, you have issues and knee-jerk reaction coming in, negative news flows. But if you look at the working, I don't think there's anything wrong with the company. It's because of the news flow that the stock corrected, and I think it should recoup those lost ground. Hold on to it as of now, and if you can, maybe some part you can average at current levels.
All right, so hold on to that stock. Let's take another phone call. I believe the phone lines are ringing off the hook. Gaurav has apparently called us. Gaurav, good evening. Tell us your question. Gaurav, can you hear me? Good evening. What is your question?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
I have a South Indian Bank of at 28 rupees. Which is 180 shares. And another, I am having Moser Beer at 11 rupees. At 1800 shares. So what should I do with this?
What is the name of your second stock again?
Moser Beer.
Oh, Moser Beer. All right. Okay, so he has South Indian Bank and Moser Beer. He wants to know if he should hold on to both of those stocks.
Well, I'm worried about Moser Beer because, my friend, I think you should be extremely careful buying into something like that, because if you look at the historical track record, I think this has been a terrible performer in terms of earnings as well as creating value for investor. I'm glad that you are fortunate enough that you are making money. Tomorrow morning, 9:15.00 second, take your money off the table and next time be careful investing in such stocks. Your investment in South Indian Bank, I think it's good. Only problem is that bank has been suffering with some sideways numbers quarter on quarter, but improvement should be visible now that we expect rate cuts to come through. So this bank will also benefit. And whatever profits you book out of Moser Beer, if you want to park your money somewhere else, and if you're looking at these kind of double-digit stocks, if you are a high-risk player, then I think the first advice would be to look at Ashok Leyland on dip, or maybe something like a Dish TV, which is quoting at around about 80 or 82 odd rupees. I think a fantastic set of numbers, and we believe that this is a turnaround story, Dish TV, that is.
All right, so we hope that helps. Of course, we have another phone call on the line. Mehta is apparently calling us from Gujarat. Tell us your question.
Good evening, madam. This was regarding Arcom. I have purchased around 500 shares at 154 rupees. And what should be my future decision on this? Whether I should switch to something else or I can hold on?
Well, Arcom's not had a great run over the last 6 months. That would be a bit of an understatement. What would you recommend he does with the stock?
Well, I wonder why did he identify Arcom? Because when you have players like Idea Cellular and Bharti Airtel, and if you look at the track record again over here, that's been a terrible disaster. I think the stock has given a negative return of close to about 45-50% per annum. So my friend, if you are looking at investing in telecoms cellular service provider pack, as a disclosure, we would like you to switch on to Bharti Airtel and Idea Cellular, which is under our positive coverage. Near-term hangover in terms of spectrum auction should be there, but my understanding is that from a long-term point of view, voice will definitely contribute, but greater contribution from broadband and data services should augur well. So I think you should, tomorrow morning itself, you can exit Arcom and switch on to Bharti Airtel or Idea Cellular. I think that's better.
All right, we hope that helps. I want to quickly slip in a question that's come in on Twitter. Abhishek Pandey has tweeted, he says he has 1,000 shares of Suzlon and he bought it about 2 years ago. He wants to know if he should hold on. He could hold on for another 5 years, he says. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of questions coming in about Suzlon because there's a lot of buzz around renewable energy, and that's technically one of the only choices we have.
True.
Given its balance sheet, is that the choice you would recommend?
If you would have had a look at the numbers that Suzlon delivered, it was a disaster. One would get a heart attack if one has got sizable amount of quantity at higher levels. It is good that one entrepreneur is buying into this company and wanting to turn around the growth that is looking extremely negative right now. My advice is that changes will happen. Conventional energy, wind power generation, all these are good things for years to listen into. But in terms of players, I think first of all, there are a lot of unlisted players in this particular sector. And with the kind of, way this particular company, Suzlon, I think it sold off one of the foreign investment assets that it had to par down the debt. This does not really augur well for me. So I would say that if you're looking at power generation or not conventional, but hydel power or any other kind of power generating companies, that NTPC is a better choice. As a disclosure, we do have positive coverage. And if you're looking at power transmission and ancillary, then I think something like an REC or a power grid should augur well.
All right, we hope that helps. Of course, Abhishek, you can tweet back if you have a question. You can reach us on Twitter at @ETNowLive. Believe we have one more caller on the phone line from Bangalore. Narpat Kumar, good evening. What's your question?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, go ahead.
I am a big fan of Gaurang Shah, madam.
All right, you have a fan on the phone line.
Thank you.
Go ahead, he's listening. Ask your question.
I wanted to know about Rolta and Axis Bank.
Rolta and Axis Bank. If I'm going to ask you one more question very quickly. What sort of a time horizon do you have on these stocks?
I am long-time investor, madam.
You're a long-term investor. So he has Axis Bank and he has Rolta. He wants to know if he should hold on to both of them.
Well, Axis Bank undoubtedly hold on to it. Yes. We have a positive coverage. Rolta, given the kind of run-up on fallback of the news announcement that we had, some kind of prototype for battle-ready surveillance system. This is a growth story. It is not going to happen immediately. It will take at least 2 years for the prototypes to come in shape and then possibly put it forward to the defense ministry. They will go through it with the specifications that they have, and then possibly the production will start in case if they get the order. So my view is that you are a long-term investor, but from a medium-term point of view, given the kind of run-up that the stock has had, you could possibly, look up next week. I believe that the stock was up 18% today, if I'm not mistaken. If it climbs up another 5-10%, you could take some money off the table, because these positive news flows to impact on the balance sheet will take at least 2.5-3 years or more. So you will get opportunity to again buy it back at lower level.
All right, so there you have it. Now remember, if you have a question about the stocks you're holding in your portfolio, all you have to do is really pick up the phone and call us. There's a number at the bottom of your screen. You can also tweet out the question right now. We're going to do a quick break, but we'll be here when you come back, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching ET Now. I'm Faye D'Souza. Thank you for staying with us. This is Budget in You. This is the little space we've carved out for the retail investor. So if you have any questions about your stocks, Gaurang Shah is in the studio. We're going to try and answer as many of your questions as possible. I believe Vishwanath from Thane is on the phone line right now. Vishwanath, what can we help you with? Vishwanath, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm there. I am online.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us your question.
Yeah, I just wanted to know about the prospects of Astra Micro, especially looking into the fact that government is giving a lot of encouragement to defense sector. What are the prospects of it going up now?
All right, Astra Micro on the defense sector. There's a lot of interest right now about defense-linked stocks. Is this the one you would recommend?
I would say yes, but let me be very clear, fair. Look, I mean, it is very, it's a sweet music to the ears when the government has actually scaled up the investment that they want to do in the defense, and they are encouraging the domestic players. And Come Make in India is going to be a big venture that the government is wanting to roll out. My view is that you should have longest time horizon for the fruits to actually, come out and you benefit from that. Astra Micro, Walchan Nagar, BEL, BML, L&T, M&M is also planning to venture into some defense orders, etc. is what we've learned. And of course, there are names like Rolta and Tata Power. My view is that it is one of the promising companies. It has come up a great length from the levels that it was trading at on fallback of this news flow from the government side to give a huge boost to the defense manufacturing in India. Stay invested is what I have, but please have long-term time horizon.
All right, I will very quickly, when you say long-term, what's
at least about 1.5 to 2 years, because see, these things will roll out over a period of time, and you need to first set up the manufacturing capacity, etc., etc., etc. So,
and that would be applicable on all of the stocks you just mentioned.
Most of the stock, because it is not going to be you push in some raw material and the finished product will come out. It takes time, and these have to be gone through a lot of clearances and specifications. So you need to have, and they are like specific products, so and specialized ones. So you need to have long time horizon.
All right, have a long-term horizon. We're going to try and take another caller. I believe there's a phone call coming in from Chennai. Sridharan is on the line. Sridharan, how can we help you?
Hi. Good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
My question to you, to the panel, that I'm holding the shares for 15,500 shares from JM Financial. My average rate is 150. I'm starting accumulating from 2,000, 3,000 shares onward because of the banking license. But what is the status, and should I sell out, or still I can hold the share? The another one is Sonata Software, which I have about 1,000 shares at the rate of 131. Can I hold both the shares, or can I book the profit for both the shares?
All right, so Sonata Software, let's take that one first. He bought it at 131. He has about 4,000 shares. What would you recommend he does?
Well, Sridharan, first of all, don't buy such huge quantities, is my request to you, because you're overexposing yourself to a particular stock in a particular sector. So next time when you're investing, please, bifurcate your investment into at least 2 or 3 sectors. And my view is that I can't comment on specific JM financials, but given the kind of, green shoots on the stock market, and of course the stability of a new government and the belief that this government is going to do a lot of things, I think we are going to have a lot of positivity. So only hope and pray that, the recovery is smooth and fast for JM financials in the investment that you have. So hold on to it is what I would say.
Sridharan, do you have any other stocks in your portfolio right now, or are these the only ones you have?
Another couple of shares. One is the State Trading Corporation, which I'm holding at 250. The long back, about 400 shares. And another the power sector, Reliance Power and India Bulls Power. That's true. All I am holding 1,000 shares.
He does seem to be missing any sort of banking stock in his portfolio.
Yeah, and most of the stocks are double digit, unfortunately. Yeah. So please, Sridharan, next time when you're investing, don't look at the price of the stock, look at the fundamentals and long-term investment growth story. So next stock that you mentioned is Sonata Software. Here you have a sizable amount of quantity and you're making at least about 10 or 15 odd rupees in profit. Sell off at least half of it and switch on to something like an Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, Kotak Bank. From the IT pack, you mentioned a couple of names that don't look really exciting to me. You can possibly, lighten up those stocks on any kind of pullback or whatever small losses that you have. Look at IT, HCL Tech, Tech Mahindra. If you want to look at some of the pharma names, then I think something like a Dishman Pharma from the mid-cap boys looks quite impressive in terms of growth visibility going forward. But be careful, don't look at the price, but look at the fundamentals and invest.
All right, so remember to diversify across a few sectors at least, so you bring down your risk. Let's move on to another question. I believe this one's coming in from Mumbai. Ansel D'Souza is on the phone. Good evening. How can we help you this evening?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm holding ITC stocks, which average price of about 333 and value is about 6 lakhs. And I'm holding Mahindra Finance, the average price is 229. Okay, roughly about 4 lakhs. I would like to know whether I can switch this to Asian Paints Lupin, Tech Mahindra, Axis Bank, or a mix of these four.
I just want to know, other than the two stocks that you've told us about, do you have anything else in your portfolio?
Yeah. I got Lupin, I got Asian Paints, I got Mahindra Auto, and some little bit in TCS, etc.
It sounds like someone who watches all about stocks quite often. But okay, this is a question about ITC. Sure. It is a given that we will see some sort of excise duty hike on cigarettes or tobacco tomorrow in the budget. True. Do you expect in any way that will hurt ITC at all? And for those of our viewers who are holding it, would you recommend they continue to hold?
Well, every time the excise duty hike is announced over the last many years, the stock does get impacted, but then finally it passes on to the end smoker. And the prices of cigarettes gets increased, hiked up. Yes. But this time around, I think what else I've heard is fair that they are possibly thinking of banning sale of loose cigarettes. Now that is going to play an extremely downer for the stock and the balance sheet, because sizable amount of contribution comes in from this tobacco and tobacco products.
So it depends on the execution of the implementation of that law. Really.
So I mean, eventually it will all depend upon how it plays out tomorrow. So there is a risk factor. But we believe that the investment in beverages that they have done recently, the acquisition of Shower to Shower as well as Savlon from Johnson & Johnson should augur well. And they are trying to move away the concentration and the efforts to contribute from other business verticals. So I would say that hold on to it. You have got invested at somewhere around 330, he said. I don't think the stock should correct quite sharply to those levels. So I would say as of now, hold on to it, but just pray that the ban of loose cigarette does not happen. Of course, it is not good for health, but nevertheless.
He also talked about Mahindra Finance, which he bought at 229. He says 4 lakh rupees worth of Mahindra Finance in his portfolio.
In my view, something like a Bajaj Finserv should augur well. Unfortunately for M&M Financials, the numbers have not been very impressive. So my request is that if you can book your profits, and maybe at lower levels you can look at buying into a Bajaj Finserv or maybe a Shriram Transport Finance. I think that company should also do well, keeping in mind the CV segment offtake that we are talking about.
All right, I'm being told that we have time for just one last question, so I'm going to squeeze one in. Praveen from Bangalore is on the phone. Praveen, tell us, how can we help you?
I bought Maharashtra Seamless at the price of 330.
Okay.
Exactly 6 months back. That I'm tracking the results also. It looks good. So I'm an investor. So should I hold on it or should I sell it and switch to other one?
That stock has not had a great 6 months, really. There have been better performers, to say the least. But would you recommend he holds on to Maharashtra?
No, I don't think he's the only one, and this is the only company. The entire metal pack, if you actually go to see, even on numbers front, I think they've been extremely disappointment. So forget about your domestic consumption improving in the near future, but your export market is also looking very sluggish. Yes. So I would say any pullback used to lighten up the stock. If you want to get into something else, I would say Tata Global Beverages is a good stock option that he can invest into. A DCB from the small cap, mid cap private sector bank trading at about 108, 110. I think from a 1 year perspective, you should at least get levels of close to 126 to 135. And in case of the interest rate cut scenario does seep into at a faster pace, and the bank has been delivering fantastic set of numbers, I think you should be better off. So try to come out of this particular Maharashtra Seamless at higher levels and switch on to maybe a Tata Global or a DCB.
Okay, I'm required to ask you disclosures about the stocks you just talked about.
No personal holdings in any of the stocks that we have mentioned, but the recos have gone on similar lines to our clients.
All right, so that unfortunately brings us to the end of the show. Fastest half an hour ever, really. But we continue to be here tomorrow at 7 o'clock and right through the rest of the week. If you have anything at all you'd like to ask us, you can always reach out on Twitter. Gaurang, thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you so much for watching.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.